come across you very easily. So you really got to be prepared to take those risks here or there, because it's do or die. You could be out of Pro League, you could be in that relegation and having to compete for those spots. You could be not playing in playoffs and having the chance for playing for those hundreds of thousands of dollars that are going to be available to all those players competing. And as for Gambit, it's as simple as they need top 3 overall here today, and they would be the winners of EMEA. Even if they finish 3rd place and Guild, who are currently behind them, won their group, Gambit would still have them on tiebreakers. So that's a nice thing to have, I'd say, for Gambit, to know what they can set out for, know that at least that it's in their hands.
Oh, I agree with you completely. It's going to be interesting to see which team turns into a death box first, though, in this game, a little bit like I did before we even got into the game. Let's take a look at that beacon as we see it illuminated in that beautiful, beautiful green. And this is a very, very tough zone, to say the least. We might be going towards landslide by the looks of things, Dan, but look at the amount of mountainous area that is there. That 3rd beacon is going to be vital for teams to hit if they want to know what side of that mountain they want to be.
Oh, this is nasty. This is not something you really want to be playing. You can play the train tracks, you can play the vault area, play landslide as you say, but it's very likely that this could pull into an open area which is just kind of rocks and terrain. And you mentioned it earlier, only a blade of grass to hide behind. So Gibraltar is going to be extremely important. That's why you're seeing Gibraltar across the board pretty much in every team today. And I wouldn't be surprised if we get a pretty sticky situation when it comes to the last few circles. We might see teams drop off a little bit earlier if there isn't as much freedom to play because of the amount of mountain that is involved in this one. So, going to be a tough one to play for a lot of these teams.
That top central platform here at Landslide is going to be vital to control. That is the highest point that you can shoot down from. And you can see the GMT just a few seconds late to the party, as there's already a player up there in the exact position that I was talking about. So GMT, who have made one of the quickest rotations you could possibly want into Landslide, not going to be able to get their desired position. At the moment, they look a little bit lost on what plan B is, because Eternal, even though they've only got white armors here, Dan, you can see the importance of holding down that high ground, because they can just rain shots down, as it looks like finally GMT are managing to stabilize inside of that truck.
It's very difficult to push a team off here without leaving yourself exposed and vulnerable. Teams have tried to Valkyrie ult up onto here, but you can just get drilled out of the sky, not only by the team on top, but also by the other teams in the surrounding areas. But Eternal don't feel like they fancy holding this one for much longer. And I don't know whether that's just because they felt the threat of the other teams nearby and they didn't feel like they could hold fights with that white armor, or maybe they feel like the truck is a safer area to play right now.
Well, Zeta Division, they've taken the other side of things. They're kind of on the countdown side on this truck, which is a pretty good place to hold, depending on which way you look at things. If everyone's going to be thinking Landslide's the place to be, then playing on this side might be the slightly quieter side with less attention and less teams moving their way towards you. So that's the decision they've made, and I'm sure the one that they're going to be pretty happy with as well. That top central platform, like you mentioned, Dan, is open though, and I wonder if GMT are going to recognize that and going to think, now that Eternal have left, there might be an opportunity for us to try and sneak up to control that. For teams who are going to be Valkyrie ulting in a little bit later, if that is open, that's going to be a really strong position to hold down.
I think one of the worries, if you are holding it though, is even though one Valkyrie team you're usually going to deal with, but what happens if the second and the third Valkyrie team starts to arrive is they notice a fight going down, they notice maybe a knock has happened, and they want to actually try and take it off them. I do just want to talk about Zeta Division for a second, because, I mean, previous Fire Beavers, one of the best teams that we've seen across Apex Legends at times, really changing the meta when they first started introducing changes to which Legends they were going to be playing. And Loba being one of their big things. Taskmaster, one of my favourite players to watch, and the amount of damage that player outputs is crazy. But they're outside of playoffs right now. They're in 23rd position, 2 points short of the top 20. And they really just haven't had a good Pro League. They had the one good week in round 2, but I guess that's at least something they can go off, that they know they have the capability of finishing top 3. But outside of that, they've been top 15, sometimes even the bottom 5, and that's not good enough. I'm hoping for a more solid performance going into these rounds.
Well, G-Dolphin is, I'm pretty sure, not playing on a 24-inch mono. He must be playing on a projector or something to see that player that was inside of the building, because I could not see it. But then again, my eyes are not the best. Zeta Division, this is the team you're talking of. Controlling this top tower, it's going to be Taskmaster, who is given that task to Master. And he's going to have the ability to get back to his teammates with the mobility that Loba does have. for now, it's about farming damage for him. Sunset and 9 Impulse are holding down that truck that we saw them on previously, and a little bit of damage being done here, and New Esports are going to be doing that damage, and it's Na'Vi who are on the receiving end of it. One knock comes in. Are they able to confirm the kill, though? Is this going to be a swarm now that they have that knock, that they can get those angles for? Na'Vi in a very, very tough spot early on here in game number 3.
Yeah, you're pretty scared, I think, if you're Na'Vi here. You've got to try and get into a position where you can cover Nesh and maybe pick him up, but Strafey also low. And they've not really got much to work with. Various teams have got eyes on them right now. And ideally, you want to get Nesh up and maybe even have to use the Valkyrie ult, skyward dive, just to try and get out of dodge here, because there are too many eyes on you. You can't afford to go down this early, not in the position that you are in the overall standings, where you're fighting for your playoff chances.
New Esports are going to have a look at this, I think, to see what Na'Vi's situation is. They're going to hit the EMP as well, which is going to be so frustrating for Na'Vi at the moment. There's just no respite whatsoever for the 3 players, as every single time they manage to stabilize for 2 seconds, it looks like they will have got the res off. And they've got the Gibraltar back to their feet. But what is that next plan? Like you say, where do they try and move to? And how do they try and approach some of the latter moments of this game? Gambit Esports at the moment, Hardecki doing a little bit of rock climbing, doing his best mountain goat impression, but unfortunately, no, not fortunately, he is the perfect mountain goat as he finds what is the sneakiest of positions up here, going to find the angles, going to check if there's anyone holding that choke, and you might have noticed that he's got a bigger gun than most with that Kraber in his hands.
Yeah, he's going to be swinging that one around in the rest of the lobby, I'm sure, and they did spot a team towards that choke, and I think that's why he dropped off. It's Fenerbahce and Pinky Finky, which I still won't get tired of saying.
Still yet to make that call, though, Dan. I'm still yet to make that endgame call where I scream Pinky Finky. Maybe
one
today.
day it will happen, but
maybe
for
today.
Fenerbahce, they're in the relegation zone, Mark, so we might not be screaming Pinky Finky for much longer if they cannot pull something out here. Maybe they need to pull the Pinky out of Finky and start to show us what they're made of.
And some nades coming in here, and Rascals, the winners of our game number 2, having to retreat. And you can see that the zone is closing behind them as well. It is only round 1, however, so they won't be too fussed by the little bit of tick damage. However, the team on the receiving end of that grenade will be fussed. 100 points popping up, a little bit more as well, and that's Alpha Draft given a signal now to move in. Defensive grenades coming in from the team inside of the truck, but Rascals have turned this situation around. They are the ones doing the damage. They are the damage dealers.
Did have to throw the bubble down. They were a little bit vulnerable to a lot of grenades coming out from various different teams here, all planned on the team that are being absolutely wrecked inside the truck. And I think if you're Rascals, you want to finish this fight quickly, get that loot, take that position, but it's Alliance on the other side who are really being a nuisance.
Look at Alliance. Hackis is just waiting, praying that one knock goes down per side. Look at him, he's just holding onto that portal, trying to sneak up like a snake in the grass. Now he's going to give that sign away, but this might be the signal for him to try and pick up some free KP. Can he find the angles to do so, though? Gonna have to pop a couple of shield cells here, and this makes the job of Rascals so much more difficult, just knowing that Hakus is there to add some extra shots.
It's what you wanted from your Wraith player. You were saying it previous, that it's so important that you push in, you try and get that KP, but I think Rascals knowing now that someone is in the vicinity, you've got to be careful. You cannot afford to let anyone go down here, but Vibes has got involved, has got a knock, and Rascals, well, now they may be in a little spot of bother here. Alliance are just on the prowl, waiting to try and finish anything off that may remain, but it looks like Rascals have just been able to get inside.
Involved in a fight as well, and Hayaka's going to be taken down. That's New Esports who win that one. Na'Vi also come in to say hello and have a little bit of the action, so it looks like New and Kick now will be eliminated. Alliance, who are playing right on the very edge, teetering inside of that zone. Now I have to be very careful as Rascals are trying to chase down Hackers here. Vibes is there, like you say, to provide that cover, but Hackers has got to be careful here because you can see that Rascals have completely changed their attention now to him. 69 is going to be good enough to slow things down as Hackers hits that shot with the triple take to allow him to heal, and now I think that maybe Alliance are going to think about retreating.
Yeah, Paradise was very much hunting down Hackers then, and I think that if it was anything other than a Wraith, maybe we would have seen Alliance in a spot of bother, but because they are playing the Wraith, that was the reason why they were in that position in the first place. So it's all ifs and buts, but for Rascals, I think they'll be delighted that they were able to win that initial engagement without taking too much damage and or taking a knock, because otherwise it would have opened that window to Alliance, and Hackers is trying to do his best to really knock one of these players to give an opening for them. And still, as we move over, and there's a little bit quieter on this side of World's Edge, Gambit are just hovering around and still haven't made that push onto Fenerbahce.
Quiet for now, but one Kraber shot. And the rest of the lobby will know that that thing is in the hands of Hardecki. Gambit, though, like you say, the quieter side is a little bit more of a scenic route for them, as they will have to force their way maybe through that vault tunnel that the Fenerbahce are trying to hold at the moment. They do have Leogri on the Valkyrie, though, so they could make the option of making a slightly different move. They can also rotate through staging if they need to. But FB not moving for now. Draconian trying not to show any presence whatsoever. Both these teams more than aware that each other are looking for that pick, though.
And this circle, unsurprisingly, is very quiet on this side because of the amount of movement that's happened elsewhere. Everyone did prioritize getting closer to Landslide, and a few teams playing on Countdown. Fragment West still has a couple of teams waiting there as well. But when you actually look at this side of the circle, it's what, just 2 teams? It's literally just Gambit and Fenerbahce. So the winner of this kind of standoff will have control of that vault area.
Fenerbahce got to be careful here, because I'm not sure if they're showing a huge amount of presence actually in the tunnel. So if a team rotates through the train tunnel, which is coming from the Fragment side of the map, then they could find themselves as the pickle in the sandwich. Na'Vi, though.
I really hate pickles and sandwiches. Just going to point it out there as well.
Yeah, that's why I brought it up, Dan, because I know you're not a pickle fan. Well, Na'Vi now trying to see if they can make the most of what was looking like a very bad situation, and yes, they can, as Kazakh Boy will be taken down by the Vault. And that's going to be Zeta now trying to move in on those pieces as well, and maybe trying to find a position where they can get some kills on board. So much action going down here around Countdown. The bubble will be popped. Na'Vi got to be careful of that third party, though. Everyone's got to be careful of the third party. And Fenerbahce got to be careful of Hardecki at the moment, because he's got the big stick.
Really just could win the fight with one headshot here. Watching all of those angles, playing his shots. The 145 might be enough for Gambit to make the charge. At least they can just slowly walk up on the team here. It's giving them the freedom to push in, so they don't really have to worry about circle now. They've got that far.
Headshot. And this game is completely different. Hardecki's just hitting bodies and shoulders at the moment. Do not peek. This man, he's had 2 warm-up shots now. The third might be the magic number. Arcstar in hand instead. He's going to try and force Fenerbahce to poke and move from that area. 70 damage now, and Hardecki says, come on, boys. It's time to force the pace a little bit here. They're going to be safe inside that next circle. If he saved a little bit by the gun shield there. Hardecki doing big damage, but still, you've got to give credit to Fenerbahce as well, Dan. Not being dragged out into this fight and still surviving for now.
The fear for Fenerbahce, though, is what is behind them. If all this ruckus is happening down in the tunnel, is there a team that will just sneak down and sandwich them here? So they need to make a move if they are going to do it soon. Otherwise, they are going to leave themselves vulnerable to that potential third.
Na'Vi in trouble. They've already lost one in this fight. Underrated trying to force their way in. They'll knock another as Nesh goes down. Last player alive is going to be flying in. Harold down to no shields, but Na'Vi down to no players. Na'Vi eliminated. 15 squads now remaining as Underrated now control the top platform here in Countdown.
And that is a really important platform to be holding for the moment, but it's about where they move afterwards. As still Gambit are waiting and tiptoeing their way up. As I said, the longer this goes on, the probably worse it is for Fenerbahce, but at the same time, Gambit know they need to make a move sooner rather than later. There are plenty of teams that could potentially third this, but surely every single time there's a crack like that, Gambit are desperate to go, but they know one grenade can change everything here.
Hardecki hitting the shots, but not getting the knocks. This must be so frustrating at the moment for Gambit, the amount of damage that they have done. They must be burning through the resources of Fenerbahce, who are going to be feeling like paupers at the moment. And look at this, they're not able to heal up for now. They're taking that time to do so. A few cells being used, a few Phoenix kits being used, but with Hardecki now with that red armor, he's going to be able to pass it off. Maybe look to hit one more Kraber shot. How many bullets has he got left in the chamber? That's the question. 2 more shots for Hardecki. If he can make this happen, 1 headshot, 145, and they can close the gap, then Gambit will have that opportunity to push. However, let's go over to La Cite de France. See what they're doing now in the choke. 123, and Hardecki does get the knock. The moment we step away, Hardecki steps up and Gambit step forward.
Artico's taking a lot of damage, so is Leogri here, but it looks like they should be okay to finish this fight. They will finish the fight. It was a very elongated one, and they're lucky that no one really came to third party. Gambit were hesitating because they were also worried about being pushed from behind. So not only Fenerbahce were concerned about a team being ahead of them, Gambit were just double checking no one was going to be coming back from behind and making their life a living hell. But that knock with the Kraber really making the difference, and Fenerbahce will fall.
Click Esports, they're in a fight of their own. The shots coming in and hitting pretty hard at the moment, and they look like they will be winning that fight, and that is Alliance now in the dirt and thinking about their next game. And look at that zone pull as well, Dan. We're going into that open area, such a difficult zone for everybody to play. And with 10 squads remaining trying to force their way in, it's going to be a very, very hectic end zone. Alternator certainly going to help things out, though, for Click.
Yeah, this was the zone I think everyone was a little bit worried about. I mean, there's a few spaces you can play, but it's not really much to work with. So I think we'll see probably a few teams go down as Zone 4 closes in the next 30 seconds, just trying to get into a playable area. But GMT certainly where they are at the moment is somewhat safe, but they have to move as the zone will close in behind them. I'm just trying to look at where's really the priority position here. Like, there's not really many trucks you can even play. It's just loads of rocks. There's a few crates here or there. This is going to be so awkward for pretty much every team.
Let's see what GMT are going to do. We can jump into their comms right now as Naski is jumping into his drone. Let's see what the plan is.
If we clear our backs there, we have corner for... Actually, no. There's a team coming here. If we just rat, these guys might not know about us. Yeah, then we shoot them from height, force bubble, EMP, and caustic gas. Okay?
They're there now.
They're playing there now.
One stepping up.
Coming up.
Stepping up, kill him.
One.
Nice.
Valve codes, two
We got an EP.
Heal this.
I ulted below us, by the way. I ulted them.
We got to show no presence. Try to not show presence, but don't let them rest.
Classic cracked. On the nade on me, on my ping. Nade on my ping. He's right here.
It's a team here.
On the right.
EMP, they're resting here. Go.
Crack classic.
Gambit 3 ping from east.
Yeah.
Come with me. But only come with me if you can.
I can't. They're in here.
So Naski left on his own, and a perfect indication of how little cover there is for so many teams to play now. He's trying to do what he can. Unfortunately, he's going to run into Hardecki, and that's going to be the end of their game, because you don't want to run into Hardecki, because he will make you pay as the last player alive for Gambit.
Big kill for Hardecki though. Remember, GMT were in third and Gambit were tied with them in second place, so just that one wipe is going to give Gambit that little advantage to try and catch up first. But of course, with only Hardecki being alive, it's not likely they'll be able to win this game. Proceed to France though, we checked in them earlier, and a triple take massive combo is doing some real damage, really allowing them to put presence on the other teams around. But now as that circle gets even smaller here, there's even less room to work with. You were talking about the kind of high tower and the higher areas to be playing. There is one team just on that kind of drill site, and they certainly will be okay for now, but look at where that circle does close around them. They're going to have to drop out of it.
A lot of undulations to be played here, so even though it doesn't look like maybe there's a lot of cover, there are those rocks and there are the different, as I mentioned, undulations of the natural kind of ground around that you can play as little head glitches. You can try and maneuver around, whereas the alternator is shredding through some shields here for Unlucky, and this could be a really influential game for Clean. Hardecki's still alive, and I like how you said it's unlikely that Gambit will win this game, but you also recognize that Hardecki is still alive in the game, and when he is alive, anything is still possible, as now we check in with Eternal.
I've learnt my lesson at dealing absolutes, and certainly I will never ever do it when Hardecki is still on the server, because that man is a different breed. And ANC outplayed are this team that are up on the high ground, are just trying to hold out Lassina France. We were talking about Clean earlier. They're in engagement, they managed to get one. Dolphins fallen.
So is Nags as well, so it's all up to Unlucky. He does have the alternator. He's going to try and avoid this fight for as long as possible, hoping maybe he can get some placement points, but doesn't look like it's going to happen. 7 squads now remaining. Hardecki still one of those players, and he's going to have a little peek at that team and say goodbye. I'm back out through my portal, but this is looking like a very, very tough road for Hardecki. But if anyone can do it, Hardecki can. He stood in the center of zone. Nobody's looking at him, and it's allowing him to get that battery off too. 2 seconds till he can jump back into the void and maybe survive for a few more seconds. But no, he doesn't want to survive. He wants to kill everyone.
He just wants extra KP. Hardecki's just taken down 2. Hasn't got the KP just yet. The knocks need to be finished. They will be finished. 2 extra points given to Gambit. Top 4 now. Hardecki is just... He stared at everyone in the lobby and said, I dare you to try and take me down. And Gambit somehow, Hardecki somehow still alive.
Oh, Jazaz tries to peek him as well, and this is looking like it might be the end now for Hardecki. He's done everything he could to survive, and he's going to make me question myself once more as he's taken down to around 50 HP. Still alive, somehow or other. L'Équipe de France on one side of the map as well. And at the moment, I think Hardecki's just trying to hope that he can bait these two teams into fighting before he tries to complete the miracle run here for Gambit and maybe pop up to win the game.
Well, we're down to 3. L'Équipe de France, Gambit somehow still there and kicking as well, and Hardecki, if he plays this correctly. Well, Jazaz knows where Hardecki is, right, and he knows what a nuisance Hardecki could be in this moment, but Hardecki is shredding every single time one of them pokes him. If Hardecki plays this correctly, if he can be in a position to kind of force L'Équipe de France to engage first, it is entirely still winnable, even though it is unlikely.
These two teams are going to fight first as well. You see how the zone is moving, and you see the portal coming in from L'Équipe de France. Joke's going to be taken down to barely any HP. He's going to have to pop a battery as well. Hardecki is still alive here for Gambit. And this is looking like all of a sudden it might be a slightly more winnable situation than previously. The bubble goes up. It looks like L'Équipe de France aren't aware of Hardecki's positioning here, and that means the fight's going to break out between these two teams.
There's a lot of damage that can be done by Hardecki here. All he's playing for realistically is top 2, but certainly will have his sights on the first place.
Well, here comes the ape, and there comes the knocks. L'Équipe de France get the first one. Joke is trying to connect with the second as well. L'Équipe de France will pick up the kills they need necessary to at least secure that second place. But here comes Hardecki, the one-man army. Is he going to be able to pull off one of the craziest plays we've ever seen in the ALGS? Of course he is. Hardecki is built different.
Top 10 Gambit were when they lost 2 players, and Hardecki decided he wanted to take on the entirety of the server and made World's Edge his own.